Welcome back. Moving on to our second segment of today and talking about all achievements that took place in Egypt during the year 2020, and especially when it comes to exportation and the percentage of exports here in Egypt. So over the phone, we have the pleasure to have with us Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. Mr. Ambassador, good morning.
Good morning to you and to the viewers.
So first of all, I would like to talk about Egypt exports and how it increased during the year 2020, despite of all the challenges that we witnessed in Egypt and of course in the whole world.
It is really anti-paradoxical to see that while the world is coming down and slowing down as far as foreign trade and international trade is concerned, we find that the Egyptian exports during this year, 2020, has increased by almost 3 or 4% in many sectors and 5% in agriculture and organic and agro-industries exports to the world. This is phenomenal because most of our producers used this period to invade, if I can say, or penetrate foreign markets, especially in the European Union and African countries and Arab countries. So the exports, Egyptian exports of in agricultural products, agro-industries, and the industrial products have increased phenomenally compared to other exports of the other countries in the region and in the world.
Right. Also talking about all reports that were released actually recently about Egypt and about the economic growth, and when it comes to the European Union and what was mentioned about Egypt when it comes to the percentage of exportation.
The potential for Egyptian exports to European Union, European countries as a whole, the 28 countries of the European Union plus UK, Britain, it increased because there was an active role played by the exporting organs or promotional organs and authorities and organizations working in Egypt to re-invade this market or re-penetrate this market is one thing, create a foothold in the main markets, especially in the European Union, and at the same time introduce new products to the same market. This is the reason why the exports have increased, because of the lack of other exports from other exporters in the region. Second, because we introduced new products. And third, which is very important, that is the marketing and promotional activities was increased, and this resulted in what we have seen in the figures or statistics of the exports to the European market during the last, let's say, 10 or 11 months. So we need to proceed in this direction. We need to increase the if I can say, pressure in this market, because the results are clear and active, and it comes back in the form of increased volume of trade, increased exports, and at the same time minimizing the trade gap between Egypt and the European Union.
Talking about our cooperation in particular, talking about cooperation between Japan and Egypt and the increase in the percentage or number of exports to Japan, let's talk more about the steps adopted and how this is important when it comes to the Egyptian economy in general.
Japan is a very important trading partner and economic partner of Egypt. Not today or yesterday, for years now, Egypt has bolstered its economic and trade relations with Japan. JICA is one of the tools which is helping Egypt in this, and JETRO are tools which are helping Egypt in this respect. And this reflected on the volume of our exports. I'm always focusing on exports because it's foreign exchange earner. That is one thing. Other thing is that it minimizes the trade gap, and sometimes it is trade surplus with certain countries, especially in the Far East. And third, it increases also our imports of the know-how from these countries, Japan, I mean, in this respect, which helps exports at the same time. So we are importing know-how which raises the standard and the quality of our products which are exported to the Japanese market as per their orders. They order certain specifications in our products, and our producers, especially the agro-industries, follow these specifications and export it according to the Japanese criteria and Japanese specifications. The end result is increase in exports, Egyptian exports to the Japanese market, and maybe we can, at another stage, we penetrate this market in new products in the same market.
Mr. Ambassador, as long as we are talking about Japan, also we would like to talk more about the importance of the cooperation between Japan and Egypt in another sector, that is automotive sector. In particular, when it comes to the spread of the idea of the natural gas vehicles and the importance of this.
Japan is a developed economy, or highly developed economy, and highly developed industries. And that is why Egypt, when it opted to increase cooperation in industrial fields with Japan, it began with the areas, it initiated cooperation in areas which Japan has an edge in it. That is in automotive industries and in vehicles and all transportation tools, beside, of course, energy and power. That is another area. But speaking about auto vehicles and auto industries, Japan cooperated with Egypt in many areas, and we are very pleased to find that in many areas now we have maintenance centers for the Japanese vehicles. And when I speak about vehicles, I speak also about trains and underground, or what we call underground, which is now running in Egypt in new lines. The fourth line is established or constructed by Japanese expertise, and it will be sophisticated, highly mechanized, and more safe than the older versions of the subway or the underground, which we have in the bigger centers, population centers in Egypt.
Mr. Ambassador, if you agree with me that, of course, all these, let's say, improvements and developments that took place also paved the way for one of the most important industries when it comes to be the pillar of building or boosting economy, that is the feeding industry as well.
That is the?
I'm talking about the feeding industry and how
yes,
this...
TV, yes. Television, yes.
Yes.
TV, yes. 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, we initiated the color television, and Japan was one of the first countries which helped Egypt in that respect. Recently, we are seeing new factories for TV, sophisticated ones, which are established and constructed with the Japanese know-how, Japanese expertise, and Japanese tools, if I can say that. And this helped this industry, which is a very important industry, because we are speaking about a market, the market size, which is 110 million consumers in this respect. So, cooperating with Japan in the TV industries reflects on the standard and level of sophistication of the TV industry in Egypt, and this will help import substitution and also our exports to African countries and or African market, if I can say that, because it's 53 countries where we are exporting to our Egyptian products, which with Egyptian components, which is very important as far as foreign trade with African continent is concerned.
Mr. Ambassador, the idea that the international group of European Union countries to be ranked second to visit Egypt's finished experts after the group of the Arab League countries, what's your input on this?
It is very important for Egypt and for the Egyptian economy and for Egyptian foreign trade to cement or increase the relations with the European Union, because it is a big market for the Egyptian products. 30% of our product, of our foreign trade is with the European Union. This is one thing. Other thing is that the know-how transfer from the European Union to Egypt is very important for sophistication of the Egyptian industry and Egyptian even transportation system and all the other economic sectors where we need to raise to the standard of 2020 or 2021 so that we can compete in the international market. This is one thing. Other thing is that when we see several industrial zones are created in Egypt, new industrial zones created in Egypt, mostly they are established with the help of the European Union and other countries like Japan and China and maybe America in this respect. So we need to increase cooperation in industrial fields with these countries to raise the standard of the industry and also help our exports again to the same countries from where we are importing this know-how.
It was very clear that when we talk about all these achievements in trade in particular, definitely we have to take into consideration how Egypt managed to take care also of the human resources who are working in this, because this is the most important investment actually.
Exactly, the human resources, training of the personnel, of the workers, of the labor force is a very important factor deciding where we will reach and what can we achieve. During the last 3 or 4 years, we have seen transfer of technology in training of the human resources, that is our workers force, to make it able to cope with the needs of the market and the needs of the end user in Europe or in Japan or in America. This is one thing. Other thing is that when we see that central training centers, several training centers are established in the industrial areas in Egypt, this means that we are coping with the needs of the market, we are coping with the changes in technology, and we are receptive of the new ideas and new techniques which helps the Egyptian exports either today or for tomorrow, inshallah.
And this has shown as well the fact that nowadays, or now in Egypt, things completely changed. We can say that now we can see the needs of the market, and we are preparing the new generation actually to perform and to work according to the market demands as well.
Market needs decide what I produce. Market orientation decide how will I introduce it and how I will produce it. The new generation of workers, most of them are highly educated. By the way, they are not illiterate or half educated, but most of them are highly educated, and we see that they are more receptive and they are more coping with, and the end result is that we see that our labor force, the new labor force, I mean, is coping with the.
Well, of course, this is of great importance, and especially when we talk about trade and talk about exportation, talking also about what was achieved in the idea of the SMEs again and the feeding industry and providing more job opportunities for the new generation. And we can see the efficiency actually as well, because this is the most important part, the added value when it comes to the increase in exportation.
The efficiency of the labor is directly reflected on the product which he is able to produce. When we have good now.
Hello? Hello?
Which they are able to export.
Right, Mr. Ambassador Ayoub, Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial, thank you very much for your input, and moving on to a quick break.